This episode is sponsored by Isle of Man TT3 Ride on the Edge. The game is available on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch and Steam. Now you're never going to catch me riding the Isle of Man TT, although I cannot stop playing this game. If you would like to do the same, go check out the link in the description below. Now kick back, relax and enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Pushing the Limit podcast with me, Danny Buchcan. Have an ex-racing legend. Legend.
I couldn't get my knee down on the grass and my dad said, we need to go to a go-kart track and you'll get your knee down. I couldn't understand the physics of why that would make any difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the grass wasn't grippy.
Your mum and dad were quite harsh with, well not harsh, they made you focus on school, didn't they? Which was always an important thing.
Blackmail is the word. Like that was our life. Motorbikes were just part of growing up. It was just normal. So it wasn't like, oh, let's go get a bike. It was, bikes were always there. So I can't remember, obviously I was 4 at the time, I can't really remember how it happened. Whether I just crashed or my dad crashed into me, I can't remember, to stop me. And I went down that hill on my face. And on my face. My mum went ballistic.
That was a big crash Tarrant had.
That was a big crash. Big crash for a little guy.
Yeah.
He has single-handedly moved the barriers back at most tracks in the UK. Like last year was the first year of my life for about 15 years where I haven't gone to a hospital. Sometimes people get my name confused as Neil Mackenzie's son when it's actually Tarrant Mackenzie's
That's
brother
brilliant.
now.
Boom, Danny Buchcan. What a ride this is, and it is on.
Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Pushing the Limit podcast with me, Danny Buchcan. Have an ex-racing legend. Legend. Mate, you've done some winning. Well, how would I introduce you now? YouTube star, team manager.
Just
Taylor
Danny
Mackenzie.
Buchan's mate.
Danny Buchan's mate. Yeah, no, welcome, mate. Welcome to London. Scared the absolute life out of me. We're probably going to see that somewhere, aren't we? I'm walking through London with a PlayStation 5 on my back. Bit of a random thing to be doing. And then I get like, it felt like I was being jumped. I acted quite well there, didn't I? I was quite calm.
You styled it out.
Imagine if I actually just got you in a headlock and like...
That would never have happened.
No, imagine. Imagine is what I'm saying. Anyway, we're not here to
I'd
talk
have ridden
about...
you into battle like Seabiscuit.
Are you comfortable?
No, I'm not. I'm hot. I'm bothered.
Taylor.
I don't know what's going on, but the feng shui in here is off.
We're laughing because literally for the last 15 minutes he's been faffing about with his chair.
I'm still not comfortable.
So let's just roll with it, mate. If you're not comfortable...
A funny angle. Right, I'm ready.
Well, that's it. Take a deep breath and we'll just get into it.
When
We're
do I
here
start crying?
because of... We've obviously had your brother, had your dad. It was only right to get you on anyway. He was on the list. He was actually trying to get you locked in for an episode, which was really difficult because obviously your team manager duties now. You're here, there and everywhere, aren't you? You're a bit of a jet setter. Don't want to talk about that yet.
Okay.
I want to talk about when you first got into motorbike racing.
Yeah.
How the hell did it start?
Okay, so weirdly, well, I don't know if it's weirdly or not, my dad obviously raced, and when we were growing up, we were just surrounded by bikes. From 3 months old, I was travelling around MotoGP in a motorhome. That's where I grew up.
It's a sick place to grow up, to be fair.
Yeah, it was cool. So that was sort of my life from when I was a very early age. Then when I was like 4 and 5, got into pretty much every other sport other than motorbike racing. We used to play football, tennis, cricket, hockey, rugby, like pretty much did everything. We did ride motorbikes, but it was kind of just like there was bikes there and we never really took it that seriously. Then when I was about 13 or 14, we had a mini moto, and I don't know why, one summer we just started riding it in the back garden, and I was determined to get my knee down on it on the grass. And I couldn't get my knee down on the grass, and my dad said, we need to go to a go-kart track and you'll get your knee down. I couldn't understand the physics of why that would make any difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the grass wasn't grippy. So we went to a go-kart track just to purely get my knee down, and successfully succeeded first time. And that was pretty much the only reason. Successfully. Just in case anyone doesn't know, Danny Buchcan has a tattoo on his arm that says success, and it's meant to say success. I feel like the podcast needs to know. He's also got another tattoo on the back of his arm that says Buchcan because he was 18
Do you
and
want to
bad.
get a zoom on that? Do you want to get a zoom on that?
King Buchcan. Get that crown in there. King's coronation. He was just a little bit early.
King's...
Get the success in.
The success is in here. Look, I'll flex the bicep if you want. Get the zoom on that.
They did go mad for that back in the day,
They
2014.
did. Everyone went mad for that. It was crazy. Anyway, so you successfully went and...
Successfully got my knee down.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much it. That was the only reason we went. Thought, we'll go back next week. Long story short, then went and did a mini moto race, and it was the first sport that I did that was actually probably naturally better at than other sports. I played sports, I really enjoyed playing sports, but my first mini moto race, I finished third, I think. Then we went and did another one and I won that. And that was kind of it. I think with sports, you kind of have to, there has to be a little bit of it's challenging for you, but you have to have success to make you want to go do it and challenge yourself more. Whereas other sports were just like rugby, I was just getting flattened every week.
Yeah.
Football, I wasn't quite fast enough or strong enough. And so that was where motorbike racing came in.
That's mad though, isn't it? It's like almost like your dad and your mum were just trying to keep you away from bikes for that like period of time from when he was like 5 to 13. They're like, no, I'm not doing bike racing.
My mum definitely. I mean, my mum, my whole way through my career was still trying to stop me racing bikes. If like 25, she's like, you could be a doctor, why don't you?
Yeah, you could have been as well. You're quite, you're a smart guy. Because I remember saying to your brother as well, your mum and dad were quite harsh with, well, not harsh. They made you focus on school, didn't they? Which was always an important thing.
Blackmail is the word.
Blackmail, yeah.
Blackmail.
I never was. I was the sort of like, teachers used to say, oh yeah, I'm going to tell your dad to take your bike off you. And I was like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, see, that...
They should have gone through with it.
My mum and dad used to... Well, not so much my dad, more my mum. She'll hate me for saying this, but it's true. She would be like, if you don't stick in at school, you're not going racing. Or if you don't revise for your GCSEs, you're not going racing. And it worked because I got 6 A stars and 6 A's in my GCSEs.
She scared me that time. We'll talk about that story later, but not yet. But yeah, that's quite mad, isn't it? And obviously growing up around bikes, you'd think naturally you'd just be like, yep, give me a bike. Like,
I think there was no kind of novelty for it for motorbikes because it was just like that was our life. Motorbikes were just part of growing up. It was just normal. So it wasn't like, oh, let's go get a bike. It was bikes were always there. So I think what my dad did, I don't know if he did it intentionally or not. He always gave us bikes, so we always rode. So we always sort of naturally acquired the skills in the background anyway. Even though we didn't go racing every weekend, we were still riding bikes. We rode motocross bikes and mini motos and trials bikes. So we're still... Although we didn't race until till I was later on 13, 14, it kind of, we weren't really starting from scratch when we started at 14.
And you had the love for it.
Yeah, and we did. And I think, in a way, playing all the other sports helped me in motorbike racing because I really enjoyed fitness and training and all that side of it as well. And the sort of discipline and stuff you learn from doing other sports. When we transferred to motorbikes, it definitely helped. Yeah,
because you need that. Especially, I never did, when I used to race motocross, I never did anything physical. I obviously went riding like as many times a week as I possibly could and had a track eventually. But it was like, that's what kept me fit. And I never even looked at a gym until I was like 16, as you could probably have told.
You've got to put in a picture of you now at 16. Danny was...
I was a
strong.
Unit.
You were well built.
I mean, some might say a little bit of puppy fat, but I don't know.
You were strong.
Yeah, I was strong.
You're manhandling that KX65.
Yeah, I was a big old unit. Yeah. But it is fun. When did your dad retire? How old was you could you like vividly remember going racing and being like part of it? Like obviously the picture of you sat on the Boost, the Cadbury's Boost bike.
I have my earliest memories are all from racetracks. One is at Brands Hatch. My dad's, I used to have this little push bike and he cable tied the front brake lever closer to me so I could pull the front brake, and he put that day he put the seat up. And he thought, oh, he's big enough now, he can reach the front brake, I'll take the cable tie off the brake. I don't know why he decided to test that at the top of the paddock at Brands Hatch. Yeah. So I set off at the top of this paddock and basically careered down that hill with no brakes, couldn't touch the floor, couldn't put the seat up. And he was riding next to me on a scooter. I can't remember, obviously I was 4 at the time, I can't really remember how it happened. Whether I just crashed or my dad crashed into me, I can't remember, to stop me. And I went down that hill on my face. And
no way.
On my face. My mum went ballistic.
I bet, yeah.
So that was one of my earliest memories. The second one was... Neil Hodgson and Chris Walker, when they had their famous championship battle, it all came down to Donington Park. I can remember being sat in pit lane watching that. Yeah, when Chris's bike blew up and Neil Hodgson won the championship. So they're sort of my earliest memories is British Superbikes.
That's mad, isn't it? Yeah, Chris was really upset, weren't he? Because he lost it that. Because was it at the
Donington Park?
Was it at Goddard's or Melbourne?
I don't know if it was going
to
Redgate.
Don't know why I've got that. Oh, it must. Oh, okay, yeah, I've got that in my head.
I mean, I don't know. I was 5.
Yeah,
6, 7.
yeah. I don't know what terms they are. That is mad though. You actually was going to that circuit for that amount of time, innit?
Yeah.
And then you ended up obviously having you had a successful career. I don't care what you say. You still won the stock championship. It's not easy, was it?
All the best people win the stock.
And then what about exactly. Done 2 of them. Tick. Oh, just gonna chuck that in there now. I ain't won much else. But then, so when you went for mini motos, obviously, because you were small, weren't you? And obviously you and Taryn were both quite small, weren't you? Obviously, you had a bit of a growth spurt, and Taryn hasn't yet.
No, I'm 6 foot.
Yeah, Taryn needs to stop smoking, mate.
I know, terrible habit. He's on the Blue Raz vapes at the minute. Can't stop it.
That's stunting your growth, Taryn. If you're listening. And then, so you went to. My earliest memory of you was, I'm sure it was you at that cold, snowy Donington. But I'm sure that
yeah.
was you, and your brother was racing as well there.
Yeah, when
I
it snowed
took
whilst
out-
we were racing.
Remember, and it was
Yeah.
Bemsey, and
Yeah.
they held us in the garage before. Do you remember you had to go through the garage to get to,
Yeah.
to the grid? And I remember it actually snowing, and we had no tyre warmers on, did we, for so long?
Yeah, I still have timesheets with your name on. Because did you race 400s when you were?
Yeah, 400s when I was 15, yeah.
Yeah.
So I went from the Aprilias, and then I needed something that could carry the extra ballast I had around the circuit. And when I was old enough, I did the 400, which was a mega bike.
Yeah.
And then obviously went 600s. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it? But I remember you on the 125 Aprilia. They were such a big bike, weren't they?
It was so,
Not for me.
It's good, not for you. It's good now that kids have Ovalis and little bikes
Yeah.
they can ride, because that was one thing we struggled with. It was almost easier. It was quite a backwards route. You go from mini moto racing to racing in super teens on massive giant. They're 125s, but they're built for adults to
Yeah.
ride, not kids.
To work.
Yeah,
Commuter bikes.
exactly. So then a kid gets on it, races it, but then you had to go from that to the GP 125, which was smaller again.
Yeah.
So really, we could have just done with missing that step out, especially Taz. Dad used to hold him at the back of the grid to go
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So yeah,
Because that obviously, like the MotoGP route is straight to Spain, isn't it? And you're probably seeing this more now, being that you're managing the Moto3 team.
yeah,
It's like the route, yeah, it's like a bit of a strange way. Even like the little 400 things they got now, and that it's good for racecraft, but I don't see it being good teacher for motorbike. Like in terms of actual racing a proper bike. I don't know. That's my opinion.
yeah.
But
I think now, being around it, if you want to make it MotoGP, you've got to move to Spain as a child basically and ride there. Well, you'll have seen it when you go to Cartagena and you ride. There's kids riding there on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursday nights after school.
it's mega.
Yeah, and we just don't do that in the UK. Not necessarily anyone's fault. The weather over the winter means you can't. It's always raining outside. You can't go ride. There's not the tracks or the facilities to do it. So moving to Spain, these kids now, you look at. I hear it a lot in MotoGP. They're like, "Oh, this rookie and this rookie." I'm like, Pedro Acosta has been riding forever. Like
Yeah.
he's done He's done thousands of kilometers on these tracks, and although they're rookies and they're young, they're not rookies at all. They've been riding a lot, and yeah, I think that's the difference in why there's so many good Spanish and good Italians that come through, because they just keep producing them on this treadmill like sausage factory of motorbike riders.
And that's what was interesting the other day. I heard Keenan Sofoglu talk about Toprak, and he was like, Toprak's we've not built him for MotoGP. We've built him and pushed his career to be a successful world superbike rider, and hopefully he can stay here for like 10 years or more. And I was like, wow, that's like, I actually always thought to myself, it's like MotoGP is just a motorbike, like surely you can just get on it and ride it. But then when you actually look at the differences now between MotoGP and world superbike, they are so different. And it's like, the guys like Bagnaia, Fabio, all the top guys now have literally come through the ranks, haven't they? And it's like, even Jake saying to me, like, he was like, bloody hell, like all the mistakes I'm making now, these guys have done it in Moto3.
Yeah.
And then they get to Moto2 and then they've done it already. And it's like,
And not just Moto3, they've been in Junior World Championship before that, riding in Spain, riding on good tracks. We grow up racing around Mallory Park, and not that there's anything wrong with Mallory Park, but it's not a Grand Prix
But we're built
track.
for superbikes, aren't
Exactly,
we? And then like
yeah.
world superbikes. And it does astound me actually now. And then the more as years go on, you start to understand, right, these people from this paddock aren't going to that paddock. Like, gone, I think, are the years now of where MotoGP riders or World Superbike riders will go back. Like, I mean, for Moto2 to come, like Vieja, people like that, Lecuona, to come to World Superbikes, I think that's always a thing that's going to happen. But to go the other way, I don't think it's going to happen much anymore.
No.
Like, I think if you're in that championship, like GP, obviously, like, you've got Scott Ogden and you've got Jake and a few of the other Brits. Hopefully, they get that sort of route to GP. But, like, imagine being a BSB rider and then thinking you're going to go to MotoGP. It's never going to happen.
It doesn't. It's like, for instance, Cadwell Park. If you use every single inch of the track there, at some point it will catch you out. Well, Taz is a good example. Well, not you.
Don't say that to me.
You do use
It's
every
my
inch of the
favourite
track there, I know. Just say it and do it. You're a do around there, Danny.
That was a big crash Taron had.
That was a big crash. Big crash for a little guy.
Yeah.
He has single-handedly moved the barriers back at most tracks in the UK. Bit by bit, he's working his way out. Well, he's stopped now, thankfully.
Yeah. Thankfully stopped here.
Yeah.
But then, so from there, obviously you had a good career you had a funny career. I remember you in so many different bikes. When you went to the Superbike in WD-40 and I took you clean out. Tell that story. That was a good one.
So I was just riding around WD-40. I think, was that the first round of the year?
It was first round, Brands Indy.
Yeah,
When we did
so
Brands Indy in 2015, I think it was.
I went straight from Supersport to Superbike. I was all excited. I was young, full of energy, and just minding my own business, riding around Brands Hatch Indy, and just felt Danny Buchcan upend me out of nowhere.
There weren't really much of a gap. I think I might have even gone over the inside curb. Yeah. Through Surtees.
I mean,
through the right,
for
though.
you to get through, there needs to be a fairly sized gap anyway, and you just used me like a berm, and I went down like a sack of potatoes.
I did feel quite bad, actually. I remember thinking, oh, shit, that's my mate I've just took out there.
Yeah.
And then your team boss weren't overly amused about it. You actually looked quite amused. You actually you was laughing, which was quite funny.
Well, you were my mate.
Your team boss was fuming because he smashed his bike up.
That was just a start as well. That was
of that year. That was the year where you had the famous flamethrower bike.
Yes.
That bike blew up. Did you actually just get hot bum and then just be like...
It was a weird thing because the frame on that Kawasaki used to get really hot all the time. So you'd be riding it and your legs were always warm anyway. So the engine had broke and I was riding back to I was riding on the bike, even though it was broke, to come back in because I didn't know what had happened. And I came through that.
Broke, how did you know it was broke? Sorry.
It was just misfiring.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was coming back. I actually thought it was something to do with the fuel or something because it felt like it was misfiring. I went through that left hand and I was like, God, this bike's hot. And then I thought, it feels too hot. And then I looked down and I was thinking, that looks like a flame. And I saw this flame come out the side of my leg. And then I looked up, and as I looked up like that, a flame came out the front of the airbox.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, oh my God, I'm
my
on fire.
My balls are on fire.
But at that point, your brain, it's just weird, I guess. Your instincts just kick in. I was thinking, I'm on fire, but I'm not burning. And then I'm thinking, it would hurt more right now to jump off this.
Slow it down.
70 miles an hour. So I got to the grass and sort of slowed down. And it looks like I planned to get to the grass and jump off elegantly as I got to the grass. But what actually happened was I got to the grass and... You know, if someone got a lighter and put it under your skin, you would go like that. That pretty much is what happened. So I got to the grass and I felt like that, but on my whole leg. And I just jumped. And I got off the back of it, luckily. But it had melted through my boot. So I was honestly about 2 or 3 seconds away from melting my foot. Yeah. So my boot, where the plastic piece on your toe is, had melted up. So the boot had like opened from the fire. And then I just remember thinking, I'm so hot and I couldn't get my boot off fast enough. I got it off and I'm like stood on TV jumping up and down because my foot was like on fire. And it melted all the stretch panel on the inside of my leg. But luckily got away with the whole thing. So
yeah, another few seconds. Like you said, you could have melted that inside because obviously the inside is like a fabric, isn't it? That could have actually stuck. Once that burnt starts getting to your skin. Oh.
There's an American racer called PJ Jacobson that used to race in British Superbikes, and he's had the same thing, but it happened to him at the end of the straight. And I know the exact feeling he must have had because your brain, it's hard to jump off a bike.
When I lost the brake, it was the same. Yeah. Genuinely.
You have to, there's a split second where you don't just jump off straight away.
You think?
Yeah. And I think he's had that same thing, but he was on fire and he couldn't get off and he had 3rd-degree burns of his legs and stuff. So. Yeah,
that is funny. Yeah, the instinctive side of things, like your instincts are to hold on to this bike no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you crash, you decide to let go. But your instincts are like hold on. And when I had that crash in Monte Blanco, 183 mile an hour, no brake, I literally was like 1, 2, and I went for a 3rd as if to say, yeah, come on, it must come back. And I remember just thinking, like, it took me a good 2 seconds to go, right, I've got to get off and just let go. And it was the worst feeling, isn't it? So I know, like, even if you're burning, you're like, no, I could probably save this. I could probably get it to the side and get off this.
I had the same thing at Brands Hatch. I had no brakes at the end of the back straight. 2 pumps.
2-pump jump, they call it.
Yeah.
Oh, savage.
Are we still talking about racing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Move on. Are you right there?
2 pumps and jump.
Yeah, 1 pump and jump for me in that one. But yeah, we'll no, it's not. That's no.
No brakes is I've got to the end of the back
Yeah.
straight. You pull the brake and your brain goes, "We've got no brakes." And then I pull the back brake and that just does nothing when you're doing 160 miles an hour. And then I turned in and tried to make myself crash. I couldn't. I'm like turning in trying to make it crash and I couldn't get off. And then I eventually just fell off the side.
I don't know if it's effective, the rear brake at that speed.
It's not.
Does it not? It doesn't even start to skid.
It doesn't do anything.
It doesn't even start to skid, does it? And then you're like, right, where am I aiming the bike? Right, I'm aiming the bike that way, get off it.
Yeah.
It's clear. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? There was a test they did with like John McGuinness about reaction times. You probably know more about it than me. I don't know much about it, but they were saying like the way that the brain works for guys like obviously us, or probably more so the guys that do TT, how quickly it takes them to make a decision. And the actual time was so much quicker than... if say you had a normal job like sat in an office, it was like ridiculously amount.
Really?
Like how much quicker? And I think like I have that situation. I say to Steph like, don't worry, if I get into a situation, my brain reacts much quicker. I actually say I'm not going to crash this car. That's what I say. It's really bad, isn't it? I'm laughing because it's so true, and she's going to be like, he says it all the time. I'm not going to crash this car. As soon as something happens, I'll react. I'm just chilled about it. Not that I drive around like, ooh, I'm not going to crash.
Yeah.
But these could be my last words. This could be my last podcast. I could have really like put bad luck into myself. But anyway.
You spoke it into the universe.
Yeah. But anyway, let's talk about your racing. I don't want to talk about me crashing cars. It's no good.
If you had 3 last words to say, what would your last 3 words be?
Fuck this shit. No, I don't know. I don't
Mine's
know.
live, laugh, love.
Is it? Have you got that tattooed on you? You can do that, haven't you? That, yeah. Go on. Where are you going to get it put?
Live, laugh, love?
Yeah. Where are you going to get it put? On your shoulder or your collarbone?
I'll get a sleeve or something. Have you got a sleeve?
Oh, no,
know,
I've
it's
probably
just
got loads
King
of
Buchans.
tattoos. I've got. Do you know
What
what,
about the
I think?
83 on your
No,
neck?
but I know, but they tell a story. So in all
Yeah.
tattoos, they tell a story.
18 and drunk.
This one tells the story of I was thinking I was a bad man at the time, and I used to drive my right hand up on the steering wheel,
In that
and
Merc.
people knew who was going past.
How
in that
cool did
Merc.
we think we were back
The
in the
Merc,
day?
mate, the
Soft
all
top
Merc. Yeah, it's banging. And this one was a hard time in stock 600 career. Success is the ability to move between failures with enthusiasm, but the tattoo was unsuccessful. But anyway,
Yes.
that was a tough time.
Yeah.
The 83 was, no matter what number I am on the bike, I'll always have 83.
Yeah.
And then this one here, me and Steph got matching tattoos.
That's cute.
Yeah. And she said to me, come on, let's get a tattoo. And I was like, oh, like, really? And she was like, are you really having commitment issues over a tattoo? I was like, we're already committed. Like, we're already pretty committed. We've got 2 kids. We're married. We've got a house together.
Yeah.
So in the end, I just did it. And yeah, we have a bit of a laugh
And
about
what is it?
in-house. That's our anniversary, wedding
Oh,
anniversary, yeah.
Nice.
Which is next week.
Good.
5 years married, mate. Can you believe it? 30
No,
years
I
old.
cannot. We are getting
Anyway,
old.
podcast listeners do not want to listen about my marriage dates, my shit tattoos. Let's talk about. So you obviously went from the WD-40, then you went back to Supersport, didn't you? Was that the Tyco year?
2013-14 I rode Supersport, then I moved to Superbike with WD-40, and then I moved back to Stock 1000.
But it was just like people probably understand more now, but the emotional roller coaster of seasons is like, it's so demoralising when you have a bad season, but it's the best feeling in the world when you have a good season, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's and the good outweighs the bad so much that you just forget the bad.
Yeah.
Even though the bad is absolutely terrible, isn't it?
I've pretty much went from 2010, I rode 125s and did a bit of winning. It was a good year. And then I moved up to Grand Prix. My second Grand Prix was good. And then from that Grand Prix, pretty much, I, in my mind, had it tough, or it felt like it was tough. From 2011, 2012, 13, 14, 15. So for all those seasons, I only had 1 podium in 2014. I finished second in 1 race. And then 2015 was just a complete disaster. I think I broke down I've written it down somewhere. It's like 28 times during the year the bike broke. So that was just a complete disaster. And I got to the end of that season and I just really thought, I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, I spend all my life, I dedicate my whole life to doing this. I don't see my friends. I don't really drink.
Training all the time.
Train non-stop. Commit your whole life to doing it. And I always just think, like, if I committed myself so much to something else, then maybe it would be okay. But then, so 2016, I told myself that I would, in the winter, I said to my dad, I'm going to have one last shot at doing this. I don't feel like I've had a proper opportunity to show what I could do. So let's just make sure that I get on a bike that's capable of winning. And I'll prove to myself whether I can do it or I can't do it. And if I can't do it, that's fine. I'll just stop and do something else. But then 2016, I won the championship. So it was like, prove to myself that I was capable of doing it.
Yeah, done it. And was that with the Bathams guys?
That was with Bill Bass for Steve
Bill Bass.
Hicken.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. And then the Bathams come after. But when you say that you're riding MotoGP, how old were you when you were doing the GBs?
So I did my GCSEs when I was 16 and 17. Then when I turned 18, I was doing my A-levels. And went.
And you're travelling around the world. Is
So
what I'm
I'd be
saying. It's so demoralising going around the world.
Yeah.
You've got all this travelling. You leave on some tracks for a Tuesday and arrive at the circuit line on a Wednesday, and then you're there Thursday, Friday. Well, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like for one race.
I went to Japan. Flew all the way to Japan. Got to the race. That was an equally bad year. The bike broke down. I don't know how many times, but it was a lot. And got back on a Monday, and my mates were like, "Oh, how did the weekend go in Japan?" I'd be like, "I just broke down." And they went, "You flew all the way to Japan to break down?" I was like, "Yeah." So, and they're the sort of, I think you don't realise at the time, but all of that is like grinding you down, and you've just got to keep fighting against that and fighting against that.
Constant,
so,
yeah. And it's like, "What? Oh, I saw you had a bad weekend." Yeah, I did. Yeah, what happened? Oh, I had a technical problem. Oh, all right.
Yeah,
like,
but it's not that. It's the
so frustrating.
3 weeks of training before that. Well, not just 3 weeks, years of training before that to get there, and that happened. So.
And then you're literally travelling around the world. You're not home. Like, the thing with BSB is you have a bad weekend. Like, I had a bad weekend at Donington, and then Sunday night I'm home. And it's like, I'm home, I'm back to normal. Monday, start again. Right, let's look at Knockhill now. But when you're around the world, like obviously speaking to Jake about the travel schedule, it's mental, isn't it? Like you do so much travelling, it's such a commitment. And
now I don't race. Even last year for me, just travelling alone.
Yeah,
I don't feel sorry is not the right word, but I empathise with the people that are doing it. MotoGP is so much harder than British Superbikes is hard, and you have 3 races a week and it's difficult. But MotoGP, just to travel for 21 races, you just feel like you're in a washing machine. You go from one time zone to the next. You have no idea where you are. On your iPhone, you can, it shows you how much sleep you get.
Yeah.
So I normally get like 7-8 hours sleep. At points last year, my average sleep was going to 4 or 5 hours because you're just constantly, and that in itself just grinds you down. And so now they've like doubled the races in MotoGP.
Yeah, no.
It looks like sometimes they're whinging about it, but the ones who say, "Oh, we love racing, we do love it," and everyone does love racing, but it's not easy to chuck another race in their race weekend.
Yeah, like for me as a pundit, I absolutely love the sprint race.
Me
I think
too.
It's
the best
absolutely
thing
mega.
ever.
But I think maybe what they should have done is not have done 20 rounds this year. Maybe cut the rounds down.
Yeah.
Because like you say, the riders will get burnt out. Like not only do they not get much of an off season anyway, with the fact that their season stops in November, isn't it? It's like, so then they've got December. Then they start testing like pretty much end of January. It's like the guys don't get a bloody rest today. And we was talking about the training side of things the other day, weren't we? And it's like they don't train, they don't get time to train.
No,
like
you don't. That's the difference. Like British Superbikes, you finish in October, November, December. Even if you do train, you're just ticking over because it's too early to start a training camp for the next year.
Yeah.
And then you have January, February, March. You don't ride till March. MotoGP this year, we're finishing in the 3rd week of November. Got December off. You have your Christmas turkey, and then they're back out to Malaysia, I think, is their first test. So, going back to the training, we were saying how in BSB you feel like you can do big blocks of training and improve yourself. MotoGP, you just go from round to round to round and you don't really get chance. It's more about recovering than it is about actual training for the next race.
That's funny. And I remember a story about when you was doing the GPs. I think you was doing the GPs at the time. Can't remember, but you when the ash cloud, remember the big ash cloud? You were stuck, weren't you? And your dad hired a car.
Yeah, so we in 2010.
Thruxton, we was at, weren't we?
Yeah, 2010.
Thruxton,
it was Thruxton. So I was testing for the Red Bull rookies, and we were coming back from Valencia to Thruxton, and we were flying back, but we went to the airport, and there was this ash cloud. So we're like, great, of all things,
what does this mean?
Yeah, we just
clear it.
Exactly. So Mad Mark just went to the hire car desk, said we need to hire a car. They said, "Oh, where are you going?" We're like, "England." They're like, "You can't take it to England." We said, "Well, what about France?" They're like, "No, you can't take it to France. You can't take it out of this country." So like, all right, cool, yeah, we won't.
Yeah.
They took the keys, drove it straight to England. My dad, like, if the police are watching, Spanish police.
No, don't worry about it, mate. It's too far gone now, and this is a story anyway.
Right, so basically we averaged, it's not that impressive, but we averaged 80 mile an hour, including every single stop, including everything, and we drove for, basically we was just holding it at 120 mile an hour the whole way there. And my poor dad, we were there with Harry Stafford, who used to race, and his dad thought he was committed to the cause, and then he realised he hasn't got Mad Mark's level of commitment to the cause. So he sat in the passenger seat, was like, yeah, I'll share the driving with you. Dad got in the passenger seat, just put his foot flat to the floor, and the guy was like, I can't drive this fast. I definitely can't drive this fast in my dock. My dad was like, you just keep me awake and I'll keep going. So we drove, it was 22 hours straight, non-stop. The only time we stopped was literally just put fuel in and kept going. We got there right before, I think it was FP2 or qualifying, but I qualified 4th. So my dad had gone to all that effort, got to 4th on the grid, thought great, it was worth getting back for. Got to the race and I basically just flooded the bike on the line. I went all the way back to last.
Is that when there's 2 strokes?
Yeah, so we rushed all the way back for me to just set off last anyway. And I came back through to 4th, so it was worth getting back for. But
what happened with the car?
Oh, so the car...
Did you burn it out?
No, that was
A127?
up for discussion if that was going to happen. Dad, there was a guy, do you remember Hudson Kenner that used to race?
How can we not remember the Hurricane Hudson
the original
Kenner?
Gangster himself. So
that guy's a knob, mate. I don't mind saying that out loud on air.
I like Hudson.
No, do you actually?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
he's your mate. He's a knob for me.
He had a South African friend and basically paid him a bag of sand to... He took it back to somewhere near Spain and just rang up and blamed the ash cloud and was like, I'm stuck because of you, I can't fly. And he dumped it at some random airport.
To be fair, Hurricane, you've just gone up an estimation in my books now. You're at 1.
That was Hurricane's mate. It wasn't actually.
No,
Hurricane.
but he still organised it though.
Yeah,
He
he
had
did,
to talk
yeah.
South African to his mate
Yeah.
to get him sorted. Yeah, that guy. We've got some funny stories. That's for another day. But anyway, that's quite mad though. Isn't it? Oh, I love that. The only sort of way I can sort of relate to that is I had to do that from Knockhill to Gatwick. Last year, literally.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where were you going?
I was going from Edinburgh to home, and the flights were all messing about. I think it was an EasyJet, had the people striking and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I said to the chef at the time, because I took the chef to the airport, I said, mate, if this plane ain't going, I'm not sitting about tonight. I said, I'm driving this car home. I had this shitty Yaris thing, like Yaris Estate. Obviously, cheapest hire car I could possibly find when booking it because I'm a motorbike racer.
Yeah.
And so it's an automatic. And when I picked it up, I was like, oh, the clutch feels like it's slipping a bit on this. And anyway, so I said, right, you can come with me or you can stay here and do a night at the hotel. Don't bother me. I said, either way, I'm quite happy to drive on my own. But if not, come with me. He said, all right, I'll come with you. Mate, just driving home. Got back to Gatwick like 2 a.m, parked up. I said, I'm just leaving this car here. And he said, you can't leave it here because they'll think it's a suspect vehicle. So I literally had to abandon it next to my van, just jumped in the van and gone, yeah. But I literally had to pay 70 quid extra to drive it home. It was the best decision I made. Because, I just wanted to get back to my bed. I didn't want to mess about. But done 2 races, sweaty, hot, just got in my clothes, just driven like however many hours, 8 hours back. Proper miserable time. Get home, the Red Bull's all of a sudden kicking in when I don't need it
Just
to.
when you want to go sleep.
I know, I'm literally like this, just at night. Steph, you awake? 3 a.m. in the morning. Fucking hell. But anyway, so we go from motorbike racing, and sorry guys if I keep coughing, I've got a very dry throat. It's not COVID, all right?
It's the vapes. You need
It's
to
the
kick on, I'm
vapes.
telling you.
It's them 60 a day I keep smoking.
Yeah. Marlboro Reds.
People, I don't know if people would actually find this funny. People probably now think that Taryn smoke and I smoke.
Taz does.
Can't wait for him to.
The vapes, at least you always.
The
The
vapes.
meth you got to watch.
Yeah. That's
Why is he
terrible.
so fast?
That is so funny. That is
I say
terrible.
no to meth.
Like, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably do as well. Probably. Got a couple of questions here. It's not Buchans Bonanza time yet. It's just a couple of random questions.
What is Buchans Bonanza?
No, I can't tell you that. That's carnage. Have you ever been known as the son of Neil or the brother of Taryn?
Have I ever been known?
Yeah. Has anyone said you're that brother of
That's
Taryn?
all I'm known as. Sometimes people get my name confused as Neil Mackenzie's son when it's actually Taryn Mackenzie's
That's
brother
brilliant.
now.
My dad's like Dan's dad, Jim. That's
Do you know
it.
what?
Dan's dad,
It's
Jim. That
actually
is.
there's a turn recently. My dad got asked the other day. Someone said, "Oh, are you that YouTube guy's dad?" So no, like,
That is heaven for you to hear.
He's raced for 15 years. I've raced for 50
Yeah.
years, and all it's come to is me being some kid on YouTube, and he's the dad of.
That is quite funny though, isn't it? Let's talk about the YouTube. So obviously, come to retire from racing, and
Yeah.
you obviously had that. You had the year where you won the Superstock. Did you win 2 Superstock titles? Because you done the Bathams one as well, didn't
So
you?
I've factually I won 1, but people just get confused and think I won 2, so I just sort of go with it.
Go with 2.
I finished second in the other one.
Yeah, you was close to
Me
winning,
and Coops,
wasn't
yeah,
you?
came down with me and Coops, and Coops got the better of me.
Yeah, that was. But they like you say, Superstock, but they're still competitive years. They're still competitive bikes. You still have to put a lot of effort in to win them. Like,
I think I'm probably. I'd like to think I'm a modest person, so I'll probably play down what. But I'm proud of what I achieved.
yeah, man, it's good. They're not easy championships to win. Like, I know the ones I won, they're bloody hard and it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
The only difference when you go to Superbike, I feel, is that there's nothing resting more on you as a rider. You don't have to do anything more, anything less. The only thing that I think hinders Superbike is overcomplication of the bikes.
Yeah.
And then technical problems and things like that going against you, where I think when if you got on a good Superbike and you had a good team, I mean like a real understanding bunch of guys around you that understood you personally.
Yeah.
Because there's another thing, isn't it? Like you can get people that work with people that some people would say they're really good, some people would say they just don't get on, and I think that's a big thing, is having the people around you that understand you. Like I'm quite lucky, like my team now understand me and how I work, even though my feedback sometimes might be a bit vague or quite in depth but in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think if you had the right people around you and you go into a season like feeling confident, then I think you can have a good year.
I think 2019, when I finished second in the Superstock Championship, there was talk between me and Michael Rutter at the time of doing Superbike the next year. And I think if I'd done Superbike the next year with him, really it should just be a case of you bolting slicks in your bike, making it a little bit better. And we just planned on literally making my bike a little bit better. Because my lap times on my Superstock bike, if I'd just gone a bit faster everywhere, would have been good enough to ride in Superbike. But that's racing. if it was one easy straight pass to the top, everyone would do it. But it's
yeah,
just not like
it's
that.
so difficult, isn't it? And like, no matter, like, some years you can just get on a bike and everything goes your way and everything, like, it's a really, I always say it's luck. And people say, oh yeah, I don't believe in luck, but I genuinely believe in luck. And sometimes you can have the easiest of years, nothing goes wrong, like everything starts to go wrong but goes right again. And then the other way where you feel like, right, I'm the most prepared, I've done the best I can, and it goes completely wrong. And I think, like, with running, that's what I like about running or cycling. It's like, if I was going to do a marathon next year and I'm like, right, I've got, let's say, or this year I've got 20 weeks, I'm going to do a marathon training plan, I'm going to do this plan this week, blah, blah, blah. You know, when you stand on that line, that is it. Unless you're ill or you don't feel, obviously, then that's a problem. But that is it. When you go racing, you can be the fittest, you could have done the best psychology, you could have eaten the best, you could have done everything 20 times better than the guy who's winning the races, and it just go completely to shit and you end up nowhere. And that is something, isn't it, that I think it makes us resilient as people for when we go on to other stuff, like you being the team manager now. Like, the resilience is like embedded deep in you, isn't it?
Weirdly, since I've stopped racing, I've found that life is so easy. It's like racing was so hard for so long. Everything I do now, just not in a big-headed way, but I just absolutely love everything I do. Challenges in the life outside or work outside of this just feel like absolutely nothing compared to. I think it's the danger element of racing, the injury. Like last year was the first year in my life for about 15 years where I haven't gone to a hospital.
Hang on, didn't you go skiing and did you have
no
backflip? Was that this year?
Yeah, I didn't go to hospital for that.
Oh, did you not?
No.
Did you go to hospital for skiing at all?
No, skiing I was sound. What happened was a week later I took up trials riding and dislocated my shoulder. But there was a 365-day period
and you
where
didn't go to hospital for that, or did you?
No, I didn't go to hospital.
No, that's mega.
Yeah, so I've still not gone.
Double gangster.
Yeah. So, but it just shows, like, I didn't realise until one of my ex-girlfriends once said, we were on about me going to hospital, and she was like, you know, I've never been to hospital. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I never broke a bone. I was like, well, how can you not have broke a bone? And it's just like these weird things in life that we just get used to. It's like part of life, having operations and doing that. When you take all that out of it and sacrificing your whole life and training and the dedication, it's like just applying a little bit of that to the other stuff in my life is just, you don't know it at the time because life, you just don't know why things happen.
No.
But now I get why all these things happen to me, and it's just, it was all for a reason, and it's worked out okay.
I literally said, going back to what you said earlier about, I thought if I could apply this same effort outside of like outside of racing, I genuinely believe, like we spoke about before as well, people that leave racing and go into business, or whether they're doing property development or office furniture, whatever it might be, I think when you know what it takes to be a successful racer, like keeping the team G'd up around you, like talking to sponsors, all that kind of thing that you need to be a successful racer, your training, your structure, your discipline. I think when you could apply that to something outside of racing, I think, like we said, you can make a success of it, and it just comes at a less of a risk. Like, you're not jumping off a bike at 150 mile an hour, are you?
There's so many life skills that like motorbike racing, you think you're just riding a motorbike, and the things that I've realised that apply is things like dedication and sacrifice that you don't realise you're doing without thinking about it. Because in racing, it's impossible to make it or do any good or become professional at it if you don't dedicate yourself properly. The business side of it, of just understanding how money works, getting sponsorship in, getting sponsorship out, paying for stuff, that side of it, all you're sort of picking up skills the whole time. I learnt Spanish alongside my racing without realising it at the time. And there's just like loads of little things that I had no idea would ever, even social media, doing your social media, that then gave me a job effectively out of the back of my racing career.
Presenting yourself as a person.
Exactly.
Like,
And speaking to people, that's one of the biggest things I've learned or taken from racing is a lot of my racing I had to try and fund myself some years. So one of my things I learned how to do was attracting sponsors and keeping sponsors and making people enjoy my racing, and all that side of it now pays dividends after. But you don't realise at the time. You just, all you want to do is go and win motorbike races, and it's only after you can look and see what it's done. Yeah,
it's mental. I actually thought about it the other day. Like, if you was to write a CV as a motorbike racer and all you'd done was been a professional motorbike racer for 10 years, there is so many skills that you could actually write down, like even negotiating, like you're negotiating your contract if you haven't got a manager, negotiating funds with sponsors, negotiating the fact that I'm going to give you X, you're going to give me X, and we're going to meet in the middle and we're going to make a good partnership. Like, there's so many things that you learn that putting that into a corporate world would work a treat. The only hard thing you'd have putting a motorbike race in a corporate world is sitting behind a desk for 8 hours a day, isn't it? Because
100%.
obviously, like, it's a great life when you're racing bikes. Like, you all right, you don't get to see much when you're traveling the world, and you're probably enjoying it more now. But like, you travel the world, like, you, like, Monday, like, for me, when I first had Maya, like, I was able to be home quite a lot, which was, I was so thankful for. I was like, bloody hell, like, I can be at home and not have to worry about stuff because my income is my racing, you know, at the time. And yeah, I was so blessed to have that. But if I had a normal job, I'd probably have to be working most of the week. So there's so many good things of racing. There's such bad points where you just think, why, like, you dedicate yourself and it just goes so wrong, or you crash and you injure yourself and you just think, like, why me?
It has literally driven me to the absolute rock bottom at points. And like, I'm not afraid to say, in 2018 I went to doctors about my racing, not about my racing, just because I felt so bad.
Like depression, yeah.
And the woman, the doctor, bless her, she basically realised it was racing that was making me feel bad. She's like, oh, you just need to stop racing motorbikes. I was like, you don't understand. I'm in too deep.
Yeah. And
that was 2018, it felt like that. And I just kept grinding and kept doing it, even though it still made me feel so bad. In 2021, someone else said it to me, another psychologist, like, right, I'm just going to have to listen to someone here. But the perseverance to just keep going through that, I was literally putting myself through torture the whole time. It's weird that, because I love 95% of racing, but the bad parts of it can be really bad as well.
But the good overweighs the bad, and that's 100%. Good. And that remembering standing on that top step and everyone around you, or whatever it might be, like, that sort of is the thing that just keeps you going, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it is, that depression thing, mate, that's savage, because I think everyone probably goes through it, and now it's more spoken about, isn't it? Like, I've definitely been through it. And was that a big deciding factor on giving up? Like, how did you feel when obviously you made that final decision of, like, right, I'm stopping?
Depression's weird, because I was always that person that would look at someone that's depressed and think, just cheer up.
Well, mate, go for it.
Just man up. Yeah. When it gets you, it's for people that haven't been through it, you won't understand. I don't think you can. You can maybe sympathise, but I didn't understand it. And it's only when I went through it I realised what it was like. And you just, no matter what I did, I just couldn't get rid of this feeling. It was just always there. And then
it's like closed off emotionally type thing. It's weird, isn't it? Yeah.
And I'm a happy person, and I couldn't make myself happy. No matter what I did, I felt bad. So I basically, what happened was, it's a funny story. I haven't actually ever told anyone this story, but I've got a friend that runs a gym, and he had this sort of like 360 body scan. It scans your body, and then there's a big questionnaire about all your life. And he said, oh, I'll do it as part of your racing, it might get you going. And one of the questions on the survey was, are you happy? And I put no, because I wasn't. Yeah. But no one would ever think that with me, because no matter how bad I felt, I'd always put on the front of what I was happy. He put, why have you put no? I was like, I'm not. He said, what do you mean you're not happy? I said, I don't think I am. And he said, have you ever seen anyone? Because being a boy and a bloke, you just don't talk about it. You just ignore it. And just, especially in our racing world, it's a macho sport. You've also got to never let your guard down. You can't appear to have any weakness.
Yeah, no weakness.
If you firstly appear weak to your opposition, they've all beat you already. Yeah. And you can't appear to have any kind of weakness, even if it's an old injury, for teams. Because if a team thinks, well, he's depressed, or he's that, why would I have him?
Doing it,
So I just never let anyone in. I'll never let anyone know. And he said to me, have you ever seen someone? I was like, well, no. And long story short, I went to see this psychologist, and he just explained why I felt like I did. And it was like a light bulb moment in my mind. And from that point onwards, that was a third of the way through 2021, I decided I wasn't going to race anymore. But being who I wasn't going to stop there and then. I was going to finish the season. So I decided quite early in that year. And I had this real huge mental battle with myself, because I felt like I was giving up, and I like worked for 15 years to get to that point, and I thought, am I really just going to walk away from doing this? And it was the same kid, that my friend that put me on to psychologist. I went back to him. I said, I think I'm going to stop racing, but I just can't get my head around the fact, like, I feel I'm going to give up. And he's like, well, it's not really giving up, is it? If you think about where you've got to yourself in life so far, that's all been a process of your racing, and it's maybe just the beginning of something. Yeah. And it's not giving up, because you're still going to be doing stuff. Yeah, you're not going to race anymore, but if you're happy with what you've achieved, and I genuinely, hand on heart, can say that I'm happy with what I achieved. I feel like the one thing I can definitely say to myself is that I gave it everything, and I really like that now I've stopped. I don't ever look back and think, God, I wish I did this or wish I did that. I know, hand on heart, that I did everything I possibly could. So I actually feel very fortunate now. I've stopped racing, and I've had time to reflect that I've been able to walk away at a point when I was still doing well and can quite happily sit here going, yeah, I was a good bike racer and I stopped when I wanted to, and I've not had to go, because some people stop through injury or stop because they don't get a ride, and that I feel like a lot of people still want to race even though they can't, whereas I don't feel like that. I feel like I raced as much as I wanted to, showed everyone what I could do, and that was as good as I was. Yeah, I maybe could have had more results. If I'd carried on going, I might have won more stuff, but I'm happy with what I won, and I'm really lucky now at 30 that I've sort of got the rest of my life ahead of me, and I've still made loads of contacts, made loads of friends, made loads of opportunities, and now I've sort of get to start what you would start at the end of your racing career a bit earlier and get a sort of second go at it. So it's good.
Yeah, he's mad. It's a mad thing, really, isn't it? Because like it's kind of like most, like how many riders do you see that are injured, haven't got fingers, have got their limping. Like I was saying to you the other day, your dad had a very fortunate career, didn't he? I know he probably did have injuries, but when you look at him now and the success he had, and he raced till he was 40, that he had a really successful career.
Yeah.
And like the 10 years from when he was 30 to he was 40, like he probably did have injuries, I don't know, but
he did. He doesn't. He just got over them all. Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, and he's
in
one
better
of
shape than me.
Yeah. But he's one of the few, like because Taz has had some bloody horrible injuries, hasn't he? Like last year especially, it was rough for him, and those are going to get him when he's older, especially without vape. That's going to probably give him gout. Is that what it does? I don't know.
Yeah. It's the meth, honestly, that you got to watch.
Oh, mate, I'm going to tell him that. It's horrible. But yeah, it is mad, and you sit and think to yourself, bloody hell, like, sometimes, even then, I question myself now sometimes, like, what am I doing? Like, this is horrendous. I've hurt myself, like, I fell off when it's not even my fault, and I've smashed myself into the tarmac. But you just know, you have that glimmer of hope. You're like, well, I know that I can win, and
it does always get better. There's just...
I always take each year as it comes, genuinely. I feel like I'll just want to have that year where it's just like everything goes my way, and if I'm not good enough, then I'm not good enough. It's fine. I'm happy with that. But yeah, it's funny. But I always just I think like being around the paddock as well is mega, isn't it? Like obviously you're around the paddock now. Got into the team manager role, which was that unexpected, or was it kind of a bit of a, when you started speaking to like Michael about it, was it like, oh well, actually we're going to be putting a team together?
It was so when I decided I was going to stop racing, I literally had zero clue what I was going to do. I didn't have any idea. I was just going to stop racing, and I thought I'll figure something out. So there was this weird part in my life where I thought I used to like, in 2018, this was sort of why I carried on racing. 2018, when that doctor told me to stop, I went on, is it Monster Jobs or one of these like job sites? Yeah. And I looked down all the jobs and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do any of these jobs. I'm just going to force myself to keep racing. Yeah. So I carried on racing, but then when I stopped the second time, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll find something to do. So I stopped, or I spoke to Neil Hodgson actually, because he's been like a bit of a life coach for me and older brother in a lot of ways. And I told him I was going to stop, and he said, well, his words of advice were, if you're thinking about stopping, then it's the time to stop, because it comes to us all at some point, and it will, if it's now, it's now. So he said, Michael Lavitt is actually putting a Moto3 team together. Maybe you could do something in that. Do you want me to speak to him? I said, well, yeah, I'm open to ideas. Yeah, so
I'm open to jobs.
Yeah. So Michael messaged me saying, oh, Neil said you might be interested in doing something with the team. I said, yeah, I don't know what I can do, but like I do social media and I do whatever. I'll do something. I'll help out.
I'll adapt.
Yeah.
Like a lizard.
Yeah. Like Bear Grylls.
Bear Grylls, that's better example.
Like a lizard.
Well, lizards just adapt to any environment, don't they, I think?
Yeah, do they?
I think so.
What about water?
Not very good in water. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway.
Right, we'll skip that one. We'll find a better one. I'm going to think now.
Buchans Bonanza.
Buchans Bonanza! Not yet.
So he said, I don't want to be the reason you're stopping racing. I was like, no, don't worry, I'm stopping anyway. I'm out.
So it's Michael's fault.
Yeah. So he said, because I don't know 100% this team's going to happen, but like if it does happen, I'll do something. So I said, cool. Didn't hear anything of it. Just sort of went about my business, finished the season, had a good end to the season. All went really well. And then one day he just rang me up. He's like, oh, I'm just sorting the passes for next year for this team. I'm just going to put you down as team manager. And I was like, I just like went silent. And he's like, I said, I don't think I'll be team manager. He went, why? I said, well, I don't know. I haven't really thought about being a team manager before. He went, well, I wasn't a team owner 2 weeks ago. So if I wasn't a team owner, you could be the team manager. I was like, all right. He said, we're in this together.
That's funny. That is literally brilliant.
Yeah, that's literally how it works.
That is so cool.
And it was a steep learning curve. I've obviously been around racing and been around team managers all my life. So I had a good idea of what I wanted to be as a team manager. But I was sort of new going back to MotoGP and all the people there. And it's team management, as much as it's about the team, it's also about knowing what to do if something goes wrong.
Having the backup plan, having the tyres ready on the rack just in case I get it. There's so many little bits that, as a rider, you don't need to understand.
Yeah.
But as a team manager, you would,
And not just the racing side of it, everything, especially MotoGP when you're travelling around the world. So when I first started, COVID was still very much a thing. And the first round was in Qatar. So for Qatar, you had to have, first you had to check whether people were vaccinated. A lot of the countries were funny if you weren't vaccinated. People that weren't vaccinated had to have 2 PCRs, like one when they got before they took off, one when they landed.
Yeah.
Then we'd get to countries like Argentina, and if you tested positive when you were there, you'd get stuck there and you couldn't leave. And there was just all these sort of other things going on at the time. So not just the racing side of it and learning how to manage people and do that side of it, but also the COVID and logistics of motorbike racing. So it was a steep learning curve, but I quickly learned a lot. And during the course of 1 year, I sort of went away over winter, thought about everything I did, and hopefully I feel like I've come back a better team manager this year. Team might not agree, but...
Yeah, they don't. Mate, first of all, what you should have done, the first rule of management is delegation. So you should have hired a logistics manager as soon as Michael hired you. Yeah. And you just said, put old Stevie boy over here, Steve's his name, or I don't know, Trevor, maybe, I don't know. He's logistics manager, bosh, there you go, delegate.
So that's one... The thing I've loved about team management is one of the people that's involved in our team is Simon Marsh. He's from a company called Vision Track. He sponsors the whole team and runs a very successful business. And being part of the team management side and looking at racing from a completely different side of it, I've learnt loads about business and management and all that side of it. It's been like the best apprenticeship in management and just learning how businesses work and how to deal with people. And Simon's been a really good mentor for a lot of that as well. So he's... helped me a lot of the way through it, and just picking up stuff from other people, other managers. I've had a lot of good advice off a lot of people, and it's one thing I've had to do, which took a bit of transition into, was my whole life I've always been the sort of happy-go-lucky, get on with everyone, everyone's mate. And as a manager, you just can't do that. Unfortunately, you're there to manage people, and if something's wrong, you've got to tell them. So.
Yeah, because you can be their mate and be like, oh yeah, but then they take the piss a bit. Or
exactly, that's exactly it.
Cross the line and it's like, mate, I don't mind this, but there's a line. Like, come on. So it's like being a parent.
Exactly, and I've had to do a lot of growing up because I was... weirdly, going back to the racing, giving you skills that you don't realise at the time, the sort of not aggression, but that element of racing, the sort of... the bit where it comes to a last lap and it's you or them, it's like that side of it plays into the management side where if you can't back down on something or you feel strongly about something, that inside of me, that's way easier doing that as a manager than it is letting the brakes off on Billy McConnell. Like that's a lot scarier doing that than it is doing this. So they're the parts of life that I've actually found easier because I've had such a hard... It seems like a weird education for it, but it was such a hard time to go through that it's made all this sort of easier,
and it's mad. And obviously then you've gone from being the rider to managing riders, and as a rider some things can't go easy, some things can go easy. Has that been hard for you as well, like obviously then switching over and looking at the riders and being like, right, because riders are different, aren't they? Even in the minute you've got 2 different personalities in the team, haven't you? And it's always the same. Like if I looked at my team last year, me and Andrew, 2 different personalities. If you looked at Jason and Taron, 2 different personalities. It's like, has that been quite difficult with like almost like, I remember people saying Rob Matt was a really good team manager because of the way he dealt with the individual. Has that been kind of similar for you? Yeah,
that's definitely part of it. The one thing I have realised is why all my team managers were stressed all the time and angry and didn't want to speak to anyone. Because when you're racing, you just have no concept. It's not that you don't have a concept of how much things cost, but if you crash a bike, you don't think
you
twice
don't even want to know,
it.
do you? No,
because that's not your department. You're just there to ride the bike, and the crashes are part of racing. And I hope that that's a good part of my management, that I would never put pressure on a rider or tell them...
Not crash,
don't crash. Because I've literally had people say, don't crash before you go out.
Yeah.
And it's the least helpful thing you could
ride
ever
around
say.
like a knob.
Exactly. So that...
Saving knee sliders.
Yeah. But you then have to balance that on the other side with budget and making a budget last for a season. Grand Prix racing, I can't tell you how expensive it is. It's just bonkers, the amount of money you spend just to move 10 people around the earth with flights and hotels and hire cars and missed flights, and there's just so much that goes on that suddenly when someone's saying, why can we not have an extra set of tyres? Not that we ever have to do that in MotoGP because you get allocated, but those conversations when you're racing, when you're asking for another set of tyres and the team manager's going, I could probably do without spending an extra 300 quid. You get why that happens, but I didn't get that when I was racing.
What's the budgets like for like MotoGP? Because we spoke about Moto2 before, didn't we? And it's like, what's the MotoGP? £10 million, like 10 million euros a year,
yeah,
12 million euros a year.
I think for a satellite team, that's about the 10 to 12 mark. There's no real official figures. I did do a video once on my YouTube channel from paddock information. Factory teams are like 50 million upwards.
Oh, 50 million.
But and like 60, 70, 80 million. It's hard to put an exact figure on it because some of their testing programs and stuff off the back of it.
But as a total budget,
yeah, it's not cheap.
Mental. And then what about like, so say you had like a VDS team versus the Boscoscura team, like what sort of difference in budgets would there be with that?
I don't know exact figures, but where budgets sort of massively differ is in travel. So you could take a team around the world economy class the whole way, or you can take them business class. Some of the MotoGP teams can't even fit all their team on one flight because they have so many business class seats. So then a flight, for instance, a flight to Argentina last year might have cost $3 or $4 for the economy ticket to go from England to Argentina to America to home. The business class ticket is like 15 grand or 18 grand. So suddenly when you times that by 10, 20, 30 people,
that's a lot.
There's a big difference.
That's mad, yeah.
And the hotels as well. You can stay at a hotel. What people won't see, they might know if they've been to a MotoGP race, is the MotoGP paddock gets the arse ripped out of it no matter where we go in the world. So Indonesia is one of the cheapest countries you could go to on holiday. I've been there on holiday. It costs nothing to go. And when MotoGP goes there, it's like €800 to hire a hire car. And
whereas it'd be like 20 euros or 50 euros.
Wouldn't even be that.
No, yeah.
It's like £2 for a beer, but then when MotoGP gets there, it's 10. Then the restaurants, like it happens numerous times during the year.
Work smart, not hard.
Well, exactly. They're not stupid. And they know that we've got to go there. We've got no option, so we're coming. And yeah, so we get ripped off a lot everywhere we go. So hotels that are 5 minutes away will cost a lot more than hotels that are
20,
30, 40 minutes away. So yeah, that's being Scottish. I'm quite into saving money and doing that.
I know the price of things.
Yeah, so I quite enjoy all that and figuring out where we can save money.
Do you love a spreadsheet?
I love a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I don't.
Do you not?
No, I get really angry with them because like we have to do it with the office furniture, and it does my head in because I'm just shit with formulas. I have to text so many people.
I'll spreadsheet in my spare time.
I'll have to do it. I'll have to ask you. Right, we're going to talk about a track review. Well, I haven't got a name for this yet.
A track review?
A track review, yeah. So basically it's your expertise, yeah? You can say you like this track because you really like the toilet block there, or I like that track because the burgers were really good, or I like that track because I actually like the track.
Okay.
So your favourite track?
Shall I do an international one?
Any track, mate. Go. Your favourite track, mate, whatever it is.
My favourite track's Not Kill, but I feel like it's just too basic for you to...
I love Not Kill.
I'll let you do Not Kill because you do love Not Kill.
That's my favourite. It's not about me, though. This is your name, this podcast.
Let me talk about a track that's new... Well, I would talk about Kazakhstan, but we're not going there now.
No.
Argentina as an event was an experience. The track's okay and the facilities are okay. MotoGP doesn't really go anywhere that's not okay. Yeah. But the away from the track in the town centre, it's called Termas. I never say it the right way around. Termas de Rio Hondo, I think so.
Yeah,
which is like
Bosch.
Thermal river. It's a thermal river basically. So the whole place is on a thermal river.
That sounds
mega.
So
when you go to your hotel at night, there's no cold water in the tap. So you put a shower on, it's either hot or scalding hot. You can't even stand under it, depending on what the river's doing that day.
And the ambient temperature is hot already.
And it's already hot. All you want is a cold shower. And the rooms are like they were built in the 1960s and the aircon barely works. And MotoGP does go to some absolute shitholes.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way.
Yeah.
They are bad, some of the places we go. People get really sick. The tracks and the facilities and everything is mega, but it's like in Lombok.
When you leave, it's shithole.
Yeah, there's some... And Argentina's... Because there's just not that much money in some of these places, but it's cool, the place that we go to. So Argentina, there's this like square where all the hotels are basically. And I think over the weekend, it's one of the biggest crowds. We have like 100,000 plus people come.
I couldn't imagine that.
People like riding from Brazil.
It pissed me off though, trying to go to sleep with that racket outside.
Well, that's exactly it. I showed you the video before.
Yeah.
People just basically hold BMW S1000s on the limiter, like a brand new S1000.
Exhaust goes red.
Exhaust is going red. Rory Skinner had videos of people's dashes and the bikes are like 120 degrees. And I have no idea what the concept or why they do it, but it's
amazing.
amazing.
Dick swinging, do you think? Like, look at the size of this.
I think it is. The other cool one, which I've always been anti-Le Mans, mainly because the weather's bad, the hotels surrounding it aren't great, But this year we stayed in a really nice hotel. We just ended up in a nice hotel. And the campsite there is just unbelievable. Like
Mental.
that is the best atmosphere, and it's a cool.
Next
cool
question
thing.
of it is the most memorable moment
In my life,
of either
it's a big question.
any of those tracks.
Any of those tracks. I will think of one.
And then this follows on with favourite part of the track.
I feel like I shouldn't have picked Argentina now because there's probably better tracks to this. Argentina, memorable moment. Oh, we were so again, hire cars are so expensive. So what we actually do in Argentina is get a minibus and have a driver because it's cheaper than hiring a hire car.
Yeah.
It's actually cheaper to go and buy a car, which some people have done, and just leave it there for the year and come pick it back up the next year. It's cheaper than anyway. We had a minibus, and the minibus driver got to the track. And he was all hot and bothered because loads of teams were doing this. So he's rushing to and from the airport. And me and Josh Watley were sat on the bus. And in a panic, he just reversed straight into the sign outside the track. Dented the bus.
Did he rip off?
Yeah, he was flapping. He wasn't. He was muy angry.
Did he just rip off though? Did he have a look at the sign and the damage he'd done?
He just ripped off. Yeah.
Yes,
He's
top
gone.
boy. Top boy,
Yeah.
top boy. And what's your favourite part of that track? Pit lane.
The
just
girls?
yeah.
If you're into Latinas.
Yeah, you said there was a lot of attractive women there.
The women there are. It's like I'm a 30-year-old bloke. It's
Single bloke. 30-year-old single bloke.
It's a good place to go.
Yeah. Steph, we're going on holiday the next year.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think his girlfriend listens. There's an Italian mechanic in our team who's basically
Don't
convinced.
say anything more. Just tell the story.
It's not in the Italian mechanic in the team. Anyway, he's got his girlfriend convinced that just in case he ever wants to go to Argentina, that it's the best place for testing. So if MotoGP ever needs to test, they'll test in Argentina.
Yeah.
So he's got that low-key burning in the background that if he ever, or even if one day they break up, he can just move to Argentina and she won't think twice.
In fact, it takes about 47 hours to get there and about 6 different airplanes and travel. Yeah.
That's the ones the MotoGP I hadn't got my head around until you're in it. From Argentina to America this year took me 39 hours from leaving one hotel to the next.
That is shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, come on. I want to talk to you now about what's your TT predictions?
TT predictions.
Yes. Guys, if you don't know already, you're going to have to keep checking out as well the channel because...
Is this going out before the TT?
Don't know.
Well, I look like Mystic Mac or...
let's just do it. Yeah, let's just do it. Let's TT predictions. What do you think? Who do you think's going to shine?
Davey Todd's...
I think Davey Todd, Hickman's going to be obviously hard to beat, and even Dunlop is on form at the minute.
That is
but
true.
then Dean Harrison is having a really, really good short circuit year.
Do you want to just name everyone in the top 6 and then we need to predict? You need to choose. I don't want to say Hickey or Harrison because I feel like they're the obvious choices.
I think Dunlop. I'm really going to go with Dunlop. I'm sorry, Hickman. I know you're my mate, but I'm going to go Dunlop because I feel like he's had a really good short circuit run. He feels comfortable on the bike. He was really quick in the Northwest, and I really think he's going to have a good on the Superstock and the Superbike.
Yeah,
I'm going to go Dunlop.
You go Dunlop.
But I'm asking you.
I'll go Davey. Only because speaking to Davey, I did an interview with him the other day, and he much prefers his bike. He rides on the road, so I feel like his BSB hasn't been a real, true showing of what he can do, and he was fast at the Northwest. And he also had a couple of technical problems. So
this is a silly one, I feel. Oh, actually, no, is it a silly one? I don't actually think it's a silly one now. World Superbike prediction's a bit silly because Bautista's hard to beat at the minute, isn't he? And unless
although, did you see Toprak's moving to BMW?
That's mad.
I'm so happy about that.
That's quite cool actually because a lot of people would just say, "Oh, just stay with Yamaha." Let's do. But I like the fact that he's going to go. No, do you know what? I'm going to go against the grain here. There's no secret that BMW have had some problems in World Superbikes. You know, Scott's been quite vocal about it. Obviously, you've seen loads of things in the press about it. And yeah, to see him get on that would be quite exciting because it would be like Marquez switching from Honda, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that'd be exciting for everyone to watch and even for himself.
I watched Taz's race in Barcelona and we saw Toprak and talking to him. And we were sort of talking, he was sort of alluding to the fact that's what he was going to do when we were there. And he said his main thought process is when he first moved to Yamaha, people told him he'd never win on the Yamaha. And he was like, he loved the fact that he's then gone and won. And now if he's going to move, people are going to say, you're not going to win on that. And
motivation.
And it's cool that he did a good job on the Yamaha and now he's going to move to BMW and potentially, if it all went well and he could get the bike where it needs to be, he could win a championship on a BMW that no one's done. So I respect
interesting.
Toprak.
Yeah.
I just love it. Like
I
just love
respect
everything
him.
about
I like him. Yeah, I like the way his persona, even his social media is quite funny. He's quite loose and he's not uptight.
He's so nice
when
as
you
well.
meet him. Yeah.
He's just like, he would talk to anyone.
Yeah.
He's got no ego or nothing.
No ego.
Yeah.
MotoGP predictions. We'll
MotoGP.
do Moto2 as well and Moto3 because we're here and we might as well.
Okay, right. MotoGP. I'm a big Binder and Miller fan. I'm going to go Binder because I just like Brad.
He's doing bloody well. He's not far.
KTM's
What's the
good.
points now?
I don't know what the points are, but
points.
what I like about Brad and what I think will suit him is these sprint races because he's
so
the
good,
ultimate racer. No matter what he does in qualifying, he'll make it happen in the sprint race. So, yeah, I think Brad.
I'm getting it up. I remember when I rode Aprilia Super Teens, he rode. Remember, he turned up in the big articulated lorry. And It was like, who's that? And it was Brad. It was Brad, obviously, just starting out. So the points at the minute is, so it's Bagnaia top, 94, Bezzecchi second, 93, Binder third, 81.
Yeah.
So that's still a good shout, isn't it? I feel
it's
like
such a long way to go as well. So many races.
Oh, I know. And like even Miller in 8th place.
It's mainly going to be who doesn't get injured.
Yeah.
Because if you have... So like in 2 weeks' time, we go from Mugello, Sachsenring, Assen, all back to back. So if you injure yourself in Mugello, it could be like 6 races you miss out on in one go.
Yeah.
Or when we get to flyaways at the end of the year, we have 10. I think we have 8 rounds in 10 weeks. And so it's like if you have one big injury there, it could really mess you up.
So it's not really got going properly, has it, into the full flow of the season? So all right, so you're going to go. Yeah, that's a good shout. Binder's a good shout. Martin's there. He's only on 80 points, 14 off the lead. It's consistency in it. Like Bagnaia has been winning, binning.
Yeah,
and that's difficult. What about your Moto2 predictions?
It's hard to see past the Costa. He's just so good.
Yeah,
but I'm loving that Jake's fast. It's loving that Sam's fast as well this year. He's back where he needs to be. And yeah, I don't know. It's just hard to see past the Costa because he's just consistent and fast.
Who else has been there in Moto2? Who's been? Oh, Arbolino's been doing really well.
Arbolino, yeah.
Moto3.
Moto3.
I haven't really. Do you know what? I've watched the Moto3, but I don't watch it like I watch Moto2 and MotoGP. To be honest with you,
it's hard predicting Moto3 because it's just a bit of a lottery, and then it will depend who gets on a bit of a run towards the end of the year. I don't know. There's quite a few good rookies come up this year as well. It's quite good. They're just outsiders to watch over. Wade is good.
Yeah.
And David Alonso's another good rookie. And Jerez, he came right through. At the last round, he came right through. So there's all the usuals that are just there every week. But I quite like looking at the rookies and seeing what they're doing.
And what about BSB? You don't have to say me because I'm not nowhere at the minute, mate. I'm P17. I think I've got 16 points, actually.
Have you?
Really shit so far.
You haven't even got the showdown to rely on. You love
no, we've got that
the showdown.
But we've got like reduced points all the way through the year, and then we've got like double points at the end of the year. So it's quite exciting.
Swinging at the end.
At the end of the year, I'm just reserved, mate. I'm saving myself.
Yeah. Kyle's my mate. I can't look past Kyle at the minute.
I've told Kyle about an hour ago that if I don't win all 3 races at Nokia, I'm retiring. And I said, imagine I win 2 and retire. I'm done. But Danny, you won 2 races and finished second. I'm done. All right, I'm done. Yeah,
that's what I did.
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, well, you must come back now. Well, why?
No, I've decided. Yeah, so Kyle.
I'm going Kyle.
Good shout. Right, this is Buchans Bonanza now, mate. We're into it. This is 5 questions that have been meticulously gone over, looked at, looked through, looked forward, looked back, looked round. Like, this is put together, mate. This takes me a good 10 minutes to put together.
Okay.
Here we go. I can't wait to get a cheesy line for that. Buchans Bonanza! I don't know how the music's going to sound, Jeff. Anyway, how many world titles does Mick Doohan have?
Oh.
You should know this
2.
shit, mate. 5. That was shit.
That was very bad.
Where did your dad finish at the 1990 German Grand Prix?
3rd.
Boom. That's nice. You like that. What's the name of the pub at Kirkmichael, part of the TT course?
Kirkmichael. Oh, I don't know. I've never been in it. I sat at the church.
You've definitely been in it. You love a pub.
I went down the prom. More of a nightclub.
Exactly. The mitre.
I didn't know
the mitre.
I would have got the Cregny Bar and I would have got Colours nightclub if you told me where the taxi will land at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's Colours.
We hit Colours, I think, before.
Courthouse.
Yeah, wild. Which team won the 2022 Suzuka 8 Hour? Manufacturer will do.
Honda?
Which 3 riders? I don't know the answer.
Josh Hook. Josh Hook.
What's Hooky on the HRC bike?
I don't know.
It was the HRC team.
Oh, was it Vieja?
Was that Lecona, Vieja and the...
A Jap, probably.
Yeah. How many corners does Silverstone GP have?
18?
Bosh!
Right.
He did. That was Was that a swerve as well? Was that lucky?
That's new.
That was really good. And that's it, mate. That is actually the podcast.
I'm very disappointed when Mick doing answer there.
I know, 5. You should have maybe...
I don't know. I felt like it was a trick question. I don't know why.
Did you feel pressured?
I did.
Was it the Buchans Bonanza?
The Buchans Bonanza got to me. I feel like I redeemed myself with the 1990
You
German
did.
Grand Prix.
You did. That was really good. I didn't know if you'd have that because you weren't even born then.
No,
You weren't even thought of then
I wasn't.
because that was 3 years before. You were
Scary
93,
times.
weren't you? When
Yeah.
you started the year?
93 February.
February, I'm April. Right, guys, that is it there, mate. Thanks for
What
coming
about,
on.
we didn't do your 15 seconds.
No, that's not.
Is
That's
that
coming
not
in
yet?
now. You've just ruined that now for the future.
No, I didn't say what it was.
Haha, 15 seconds.
15
No, that's
seconds
not.
of
We're
Buchans
not
Bonanza.
doing that yet.
Okay.
You didn't hear the alarm sound because that's not. We've not
there's
nailed
no
that
alarm.
down yet. But
I think we need to make this a regular feature, racing roundup.
the racing roundup is coming, mate. So, guys, we are in discussions at the minute. We've not firmed up anything because Taylor thinks he's going to take the podcast into the top
Spreadsheets.
5, and that's going to make me nervous. Because then, if he jumps on an episode and takes it top 5, then I'm shit. I get sacked.
It's the duo.
It's the duo.
But I
We're
think
gonna
we should
do it.
talk about. No one gets to talk about racing.
Racing
Actual
roundup.
racers Talking about racing.
Racing roundup.
Mackenzie.
You're going to have to commit to coming to London.
Sounds like a porn-up category.
Sounds like a bukkake. That's bad. Mackenzie. Anyway, we'll wait for that one. But thanks for listening. Thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries. It's been emotional.
It's been emotional. I thought you was going to cry at one
No
point. But it
tears.
is
I'm
hot.
glad there's no tears.
It is
More
hot in here.
sweat. I'm sweating out my eyes.
Guys, thanks for listening. Make sure you tune into the socials and obviously see the next guest. It might be better than this guest.
They
so
will be. Guaranteed.
might not be. We don't know. Cheers, guys. Thank you. T-Mac.
Thank you.
It's been emotional.
Mackenzie.
Boom.
Boom. Danny Buchcan. What a ride this